Hi everyone, it's Julia Gushina, and today I would like to share with you my opinion on a very interesting topic. This topic is connected to the spiritual world and to the one of most interesting and secret person. It's Carlos Castaneda, and not many people, even in my surrounding, know that I've been reading Carlos Castaneda's book for more like than year and a half, like for almost 2 years, and I've been doing his famous Tensegrity practices for around 2 years also. So today I would like to share my experience and my opinion on his books, because I know there are a lot of rumor about his personality and about what happens with him, his students, his partners, and a lot of people who work with him. Some people even believe that all of his stories are like things that we're doing under their hallucinations, under some drugs or something, that his like teacher who is famous like Don Juan Matos has never existed. So today I would like to share my own opinion. And first things first, I would like to say that that I'm against of different kind of drugs. I don't support it, and I don't offer you to do things like this and so on. So I heard firstly about Carlos Castaneda after my first Ayahuasca ceremony. That time I was like around 18 or something. I returned from my first like 2 ceremonies, I suppose, which were really hard and challenging. I came home, and once my mom and me, we were like watching a video on TV, and she showed me a video of Carlos Castaneda based on his books. It's like a film called like Spot. If the people who had read like the book of Carlos Castaneda, especially the first one, the teaching of Don Juan, you know that there is a chapter where Carlos tried to find his spot, the place where he will feel comfortable, and so this film is like about this. So I watched it and I was really interested in it. And also after that I find out that he has books, and I also heard that time like a very interesting thoughts about Carlos Castaneda. Some people even said like that the Carlos Castaneda is not like as scared as his like fans and people who follow him are, and that time I didn't understand what does it mean. So I started to read his first book, and for me it was like really shocking experience, and I was like really wondered because I saw so many similar situations, especially when he describes the period. For me, the period and his experience was very similar to what you feel, and some of them really reminded me of my experience of Ayahuasca ceremonies. That time I didn't know who I can to tell about this, and so this was really similar. And I remember that my body like feel like almost the same when I was reading then about this. And I remember that many times when I was reading I was like fall asleep, so I don't know why. Maybe I can handle this level of energy or something, or maybe it wasn't just for me, like, or maybe my body just want to take information this way. So I read the first book, I remember, in 1 month. And the one thing I regret is that I didn't take notes. I didn't write down the practices that he gave to Carlos. I remember I just tried to try one of his practices from one of his first books. I was really scared if it works or how it affect my body. At that time I didn't really was like more trying doing some practices that I didn't like know or heard about. So I read the first book in 1 month, and it was really interesting. It was like one of the first interesting book that I read. It's one of the most interesting book that I read in my life, so it was really interesting. So I started to read another book and another book. So as I remember, in like month or two, around this or three, I read like his 3 books. And that time I also like, I remember that like I read his 3 books, and people who read them know like that it's like the third one is, I remember, it's like the travel to Ixtlan. And I remember that this book is like finished with the ending like that Carlos, his teacher, and like his friend, like who was also some kinds of teacher for Carlos. I don't remember his name, honestly. Don Hinaro. They like said that you need to like to make some like of crossing like universe or something to another reality. And that time I shocked, and they said that you should forget all people you know, you should forget yourself. At that time I became really totally scared. So I thought, why should I forget all people that I love, all people that I have? Why I should forget even myself? I'm doing great. So yeah, I was really shocked, and it was like very sad. And that time I like stopped reading the Carlos Castaneda's book. It was like for half a year, I suppose. So then when I stopped reading books, so for some of you wondering what is this, it's a tea. So then I stopped reading books for like half a year, or several months, I don't remember. In my life, you know, I stopped and come back to the books of Carlos Castaneda, his practice and so on. I did it like several times. I don't know why it's happening, but when I stop, I for sure come to these books and practice like in several months or weeks. Usually it's like around months. So maybe my body and my soul just need time to digest all things that I know, because his books are really strong and they're really deep. So in several months, let's call it like this, I started to read his another book. It's like, as I remember, it's like the story tells about power, something like this, or his 4th book. It was really interesting. At that time I started to make notes, I started to make his practices, and that time I finally started to do Tensegrity practices. So let me tell you firstly that I was absolutely not ready to all things that happened to me. I was absolutely not ready to the amount of energy that I got when I started to do the Tensegrity exercises. I didn't ever. I also had a very like interesting story connected to the Tensegrity and the spiritual. Some of you might not believe it or not believe, it's your choice, but I will share with you. I was reading like on one of the platform where I pay like our family like pay monthly for reading books. I saw the training, the book of the person who visited the training program of Carlos Castaneda himself, and he wrote a book, and I was reading this book, and I heard about like Tensegrity and so on. So this book was a really nice experience for me, because the first book was the first book where I saw Carlos not as a student but also but already a teacher. So I read this and it was really interesting. And I remember like then I stopped when I stopped reading this book, I was like having a feeling that somebody is like staring me or watching me, and like I was like in the kitchen and I'm turning my hand to the right, and I saw like a shadow, like similar to a person or something, and I understood that it was like Carlos Castaneda. Yeah, might be thinking that I'm like mad or something, or like crazy, but it was like true. And then I go to the bathroom. I think I just want to take my makeup off or something, and I saw that the towel that was hanging on the door, it's like falls down immediately, like unexpectedly. I took it and put it again on the place, and then in several minutes it fall again, and put it again, and it fall again. It was like 3 times. So you might think, why? I think it's connected to each other. So you might know that in some monarch tradition, when person want to become a monarch and live like in church or something, he should to lose his hair, he should become bald, he should get his hair cut. So it's like a tradition. The people who work there, they like this person who want to become a monarch, he come to these people, and he should give them like a scissors. So the person who wants to become a monarch, he give these scissors to a people who work there, and like, let's call it like a teacher, he give them a scissors, and this man like drop them, so they fall. Like, he give again and they fall, so he give them and they fall like 3 times. So this is like the way that person show that he's willing to become a monarch, is really his true wish, is really his like willing. So it's not somebody making him so he show that his choice is his choice. And in this case, with this moment when I experienced things like this, I had the same feeling. And yeah, so I remember I told after that my mom about this, and she said to me, if you think that you are ready and you feel that it's yours. I like my mom, I love her really. I'm really thankful for what she done. She taught me a lot about spiritual world and so on. So she said to me, if you feel that's your way, you should just try and follow this. So I started to do Castaneda's Tensegrity practices. So I had a lot of good experience with this, but some of my first experience were really heavy. I will tell you why. When I started to do them, I, like as I told, wasn't ready to the amount of energy that I got into my body. So there I found on YouTube like there are 2 different videos connected to Tensegrity. The first one is like the 3 groups of exercises, like 3 volumes. It's like, I think, like connected to the elemental films, like very like in 90s or something. So it's a video of Chakmuls, who were like students of Carlos Castaneda. It's like Kylie Lundell, I think, Amy Mures and Rooney Mures, and they were like making the Tensegrity exercise. And another is a group of Carlos Castaneda students. They make another group for like catching the intense. In Carlos Castaneda, intense was a really strong, powerful, who helps people, who hear them, and so I started to do the group, to do the video who was filmed like with Chakmuls. So this video has like 3 parts, and I found a video where all 3 parts were in. So the first part, where you like prepare your body, it's like 12 moves for making you feel good. So in order to improve your state, emotional, physical, and so. After that, there are 12 like several or exercises, like, as I remember, for like dispersion energy, to put energy in the places that you need. And the third one is about changing the form, like, and so like the 3 parts, there are altogether like around like 3.5 hours, around 4. So I remember that I was really interested in it, so I usually try to do like first 2 groups, or sometimes even 3 groups. And once I remember, then I was like doing 2 groups of 3. I was really interested in this, so I didn't like behave like correctly or something. So I tried to do 3 groups, and this amount of energy like was falling on me. So I remember then when I was finished, and also I do a lot of another practices, but that time I was more focused on like Tensegrity practices. And I remember then I go to sleep, and I was lying in my bed, and I felt like this almost the same way when I feel like during the ceremonies of Ayahuasca. So I was lying, my family was sleeping, I was like lying in my bed. I felt like the amount of energy was like pushing on me, like this kind of pressure, like my body was like full of energy. It was really strong. I got different weird visions, and the hardest part was that I wasn't able to move or to say something. So I remember that I was lying near my family, not very far from, but I wasn't able to call for help. It was, I think, the hardest thing that I experienced connected to the Tensegrity practices. And so at that time I also had experienced Ayahuasca ceremonies, and they were really hard. And for me, one of the hardest moments was how to help yourself during these states. So I was lying, and it was the first time that I tried to help myself to figure out how to change my state in the positive way. So I don't remember why and how. I found the way, and I improved my state, so I was able to move. And so, and in the morning I told my mom about this. So I was really proud of myself. That time I realized that I can help myself. I can help myself no matter in what situations I get into or involved. So it was a really important moment for me. So that kind of states I had like twice or 3 times since I started to practice, but it didn't stop me. So after that, these practices, you know, like they affect, so they give you a lot amount of energy. They change the way you think, because you like move your you know, like Carlos Castaneda and his teacher and people connect to them believe that there is a point, special point not very far from our like back, which point like is thanks to this point we have a special point of view. They see world in a certain way, and if this point moves, our way of thinking, our way of how we see ourselves, life, it change. So when you do such practices, you change it really quickly, and it change your like place, and can be really far away. So we change the place of this like point, like almost every day. Like for example, if you start to do something new that you have never done before, it's like moving a little bit. If you choose another job or start to do something completely new, it's also like moving. And so practices like this, they move it like really far. So I started to do things like this. My point of view was changing, and some people who know me like for like a certain period of time, they started to give me feedback. Oh, you're so clever, you're so changed, I totally I like the way you're thinking. And so so yeah, it was like a positive change in my life, in my state. But also there are a lot of moments in my life that I wasn't able to control this amount of power or energy that I got. So thanks to these practices and other practices that I do, and you know, I work also to another different energy practitioners and teachers. And so I started sometimes to have too much energy. So this energy started to destroy my body. So what I mean by destroying your body, you start to have unexpectedly problems with your body. Some to start to feel pain or something. But for me, like the worst thing that I had like a changing move. It was like really changing. And you know, all people are connected with a certain element like water, earth, fire. And so for me, it was like fire element. For example, for my mother, it's like water. And if she has like some problems with her emotions, with her state, we usually got the water problem. Like our dishwasher is starting to do in an inappropriate way, you have a canalization problem or something. So for me, it's like usually a fire. So you might guess, who has destroyed and ruined several, or one, I don't remember, like lights, like Christmas lights in the home. So it was just like unexpectedly stopped working, or the flame, like, or the candle got just like gone away. So these things were happening when I was like losing control. And I also felt like, you know, in these states, like I feel like all my body was like under the pressure, too much energy in it. It might be like as a headache, as changing mood, and so on. So you trust me, if you will have too much energy, you will feel it. And that time I didn't know how to put in positive direction, how to change it. So what did I do? I started to do less exercises. For example, to do, instead of all magical passes, I start to do like first group or two group, or like another group with like connected to the intense or something. I usually I don't often do like three groups. I usually do with the first one if I need to change my state. But if you need to change your state and you have no small amount of time, it's really good. So yeah, I sometimes can do like several exercises and I start to feel much better. But also what I see after doing his exercises, like magical passes. So yeah, I even bought a book of Carlos Castaneda, like magical passes, in order to see them. And there are a lot of like passes here which you can do. I honestly have practiced like several of them, like some of them connected to the woman and some of them connected to like collecting the energy that is around you. So yeah, so let's like make a description what positive things I see thanks to the magical passes. I see that I started to have more energy. I started to see energy better, to feel energy better. As for also my point of view changed, and the way I see the world changed, my life changed in some points. As for disadvantages, I sometimes had like very changing mood, and I also heard that it might happen when you do like magical passes. But in order to change this, you can do like another practice of Carlos Castaneda when you, I don't remember how to call it in English, but because I read all his books and some of his materials usually in Russian. So it's practice where you sit down and you remember all like memories connected to people, all things that happens to you in your life, and you get back the all energy that you used that times. So it's like this. So if you do this practice, I heard, I don't know, I have never tried it, I really want to try this practice, you can like get rid like of these changing emotions. So yeah, so these changing emotions are really strong. Like I can be really angry, almost uncontrolled. I can be really sad, almost depressed. So yeah, these are disadvantages. I also read not only Carlos Castaneda, so till this moment I read his like 5 books, like all of these all pages, and I read like a half of his 6 books, like it's like Eagle, the how to say, the gift of ego or something. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. I don't know how to name them in English. As I told you, I read much of them in Russian. I saw some interview of Carlos Castaneda in English and his like members and friends. So yeah. So yeah, the gift of eagle, and I wasn't able to finish this book. It was like really interesting, but I started to feel like it like something dark, or it's like very deep energy, so I wasn't able to finish it. And I also read the book of one of his like partners or students. It's like the Taisha Abelar. It's like her books, her 2 books, and I was really amazed by them. They become one of my favorites, and this time I'm rereading again the book of Taisha Abelar. So I really like it because she shows the way of like the Carlos showed the way how the men go, and Taisha showed the way how the women go. So if you're interested in Carlos Castaneda but you're a woman, I really recommend you to read the books of Taisha Abelar. I also know that there is another woman and she also wrote books. It's like Florinda Donner Ground, but I haven't read her books. I honestly I appreciate and I like, how to say it, I respect all of them: Carlos, Taisha, Florinda Donner Ground, Kali Lundell, Rainy Merez, and all people connected to them. I really appreciate and respect them, and I'm really thankful for them for all these skills. And I'm also thankful to Don Juan Matus. I don't know if he feels or something, but I'm not having like willing to read her books now. Maybe it will change the future, but I'm really thankful to all these guys. So yeah, that's my opinion on Carlos Castaneda's Tensegrity practices, which I was doing like for almost 2 years. So this is how I think, and maybe sometimes, yeah, maybe in the future I will continue to read his books and to learn more about it. So yeah, that's all. Thanks for being with me, guys, today. I really appreciate it. It's really priceless. It's really important for me. So guys, see you. Thanks for being with me.